Let's go, Ricky Roll. Let's go, Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos.
And welcome to the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. I'm your host, Beto Duran. Thanks everybody joining us. Another edition of the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. And Ricky is still in quarantine in Southern California, just like everybody else. Rick, how are you holding up, man?
Oh, man. We have a teething baby right now. So high fevers the past like 2 days. The gums are swollen. You see the white, you have kids, so you've been through it. And I feel awful for my little one. Like, he's just like, nothing makes him happy. And it's been a couple rough nights, but we're hanging in there. Just hoping this quarantine ends soon.
A teething baby, a puppy, and a 4-year-old.
And a 4-year-old, yeah.
But besides that, you're good. And young Sebastian is enjoying his new blow-up pool. Even though you have a real pool, the kids would rather play in the little pop-up one, right? Kids.
Right? I mean, you would think that the big pool does it, but to his credit, like, the little pool, we can warm it up quick. The big pool takes a few hours, so he's like, I'd rather just play in the little pool. But you know what? Other than that, I mean, it's been good. I mean, just trying to get through these tough times. Obviously, last night, we had a little cool Zoom call with the Blue Jays, and that was really cool to be a part of. Actually, our guest today was part of that Zoom call, and I mean, interesting story. I can't wait to bring him on. You saw some.
And before we get to the guests, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been watching us on YouTube Live. A lot of high school teams are watching us. Segerstrom High School, Erasmo Ramirez actually been sending it out to his kids, and they've been watching us. So we've had Sergio Romo, JP Arancibia, Aaron Sanchez last week. So if you didn't catch us there, go and you can archive them on the YouTube page. Also, it's available on iTunes and Spotify. And as always, thanks to Westside Clothing for hooking us up. You see the t-shirt over my shoulder. Ricky's wearing his. And Rick, send it real quick. Show the back of that shirt because it is awesome the way it looks. Yeah, the Westside logo looks strong right there. That's pretty cool. So Westside, go and check them out. Westside Clothing on Instagram. They got some great hats. They actually had some pretty cool ones for Tony Gwynn's 60th birthday, the late great Tony Gwynn. And also, I want to send this message out here. Jay Bell sends his message via Instagram. He's a Canadian firefighter from Thorold, Ontario. And this week, he was supposed to be doing the California Stadium tour. So he sent me a message, said, hey, thanks a lot. I've been listening to the podcast. You guys gave me my baseball fix. He was supposed to go to Angels, Dodgers, Giants, and Oakland this week. He and his family unable to go, of course, because of the quarantine has been postponed. And he was supposed to go to Disneyland. And Jay, I know I told you on Instagram that I couldn't help you out with Disneyland, but we are sending you some Ricky Rowe stickers. So we got stickers coming your way, Jay Bell. We appreciate and thanks for your service in Thorold, Ontario. Also, Rick, a man that you told me, Stocky, in Canada, he got his stickers. He said, we got to go to Toronto. I got to go and make an appearance out there
I'm telling you, you won't regret it. And I talk to you guys in the group chat all the time. It'd be cool to get all you guys out there and just, it's not even like it's one thing. Obviously, we know what it's like to be at a baseball stadium. It's different when you're in a different country. And I've told you, opening day there is the best. And it's, after the after activities, where, good places to eat, good places to go have a drink, you name it, they have it. And, it's the best, man. I love it out there.
And a man who started to make a name for himself in Toronto, Rowdy Tellez, joins us right now. And I just looked it up. Rowdy is a big dude, monster, can mash. And Ricky, he was born my senior year of high school. So I'm officially becoming that guy. 1995, Rowdy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Man.
Yeah, he is a big dude. Look at that big dome that pops up on that camera, man.
It's just the cheeks. My head's not big. I mean, it's just my cheeks are just abnormally large.
Yeah, and Rick, so we've had players on, and they've all been your either former teammates or good friends of yours. This time we're bringing a youngster on. And look, Rowdy, a lot of guys have asked Ricky, can I come on the podcast? Can I come on? You're the first one Ricky said, hey, this guy we got to have on. And I don't know. I mean, I know you from watching you on SportsCenter, but I don't know you. So I was like, wait, why is Ricky wanting a young guy? Why this guy, Rick?
Well, I think again, the journey is always pretty awesome to hear. I've heard it not thoroughly, but I've heard bits and pieces of it. And he was there as a young pup when I was in the big leagues and doing my thing. And I think I want him to tell this story about the first time I heard about him. He knows it was going to come up, and actually, it has to do with our former a former guest in Brandon Morrow, who was on here. And Rowdy, go ahead and tell the story about how
please.
I first heard about you, man.
All right. So I had signed out of high school 2013. I was like signed on the deadline. I had like seconds left before I was either going pro or go to college. And I ended up signing. My first or second day I see Brandon Morrow, and I was talking to what would have been my college coach, and that was his pitching coach at Cal. And I went up to him. I was like, hey, man, kind of went over that. And then he was like, I got to throw a live BP. Are you going to hit? And I was like, I'm supposed to. And I was like, watch, I'm going to take you deep. And he just looked at me and was like, okay. We get out to the field 5 at our complex, and he throws a couple, and I mean, just snap bats everywhere. I mean, I went out there with 3 bats, left with none. Hands are broken. I was like thoroughly just, all right, pro ball's not for me if I got to deal with this all day. I mean, and he just came back and he was like, hey, man, never talk shit to big leaguers. And I was like, yeah, live and you learn. And I mean, he still talks about that. I know Ricky was talking to me.
Hey, Beto, the funniest part is, how come Morrow is and how, like, very articulate and smart.
Nice guy.
So he comes up. He came up. I remember he came up and he's like, hey, bro, there was this young kid, Rowdy Tellez, who just out of nowhere came talking shit to me, and I had to put him in his place. And I went, normally I'm very easy in a bullpen or in a live BP. I was like 98, 99, 99, 99, just throwing as like.
Like, I'm getting rough, and I was like, all right, well.
So that was the first time I've heard about Rowdy.
Then I had Sergio Santos was kind of egging it on. I mean, he was laughing, and I wanted to fit in, and I was young and obese, and I wanted to prove a point that I could hit. And I mean, my dreams were just crushed.
Okay, so but Ricky, that happens more often than we think, right? Like the cocky kid. Like it was just you, Tellez. Usually they stay quiet.
I mean, there's like the cocky kids that'll like be around each other, like their teammates, but like there's not many young guys that just walk up to a big leaguer and like say stupid stuff like I do. It was well deserved, and after like I really thought I was gonna like have something to come back with, and just after he just walked by and like calm as can be, just don't ever talk shit to big leaguers, kid. Kept walking. I was like, I mean, it was embarrassing. The staff was out there like looking at me like, we gave this kid all this money to do that. And I'm like, oh, we're going downhill.
And Brandon Morrow, the way you say, Brandon Morrow whispers. He doesn't talk. He's like real monotone, quiet. The glare that he must have gave you, Rowdy.
No, it wasn't so much that. It was just like, it was more just like, why? Like, why would you open your mouth? Why'd you have to do this? Like, I really had to prove a point. Like, he was really just, like Ricky said, just wanted to go through his day, like, get it done. But it was like, when he threw to me, it was all out. It was like game 7. And then everybody else was like, let me get my feel. Like, I'm coming back. And then I would step back into the turtle. And it was just completely different. I was like, oh. Like, looking back now, like, I just wish I'd have kept my mouth shut more often.
But all right, that's a great life lesson for you too. It's like, okay, welcome to this. You were drafted out of high school late. You could have gone to USC, but you ended up getting a bunch of money, $850,000 to go and sign. So you were like, you fell down in the draft because you had that offer from USC behind you. You go to the big league or to spring training camp, and you're looking around. I want to know this, Rick. Anytime anybody else does anything like that, the word goes around the clubhouse quick, right? You said you heard right away. Everybody knew that there's this big kid named Rowdy who's popping off, right?
Oh yeah, you heard it right away. Yeah, you heard it right away. And obviously, what a perfect guy to fall into in Brandon Morrow, who's like coming back, and he's obviously trying to feel himself, and every time Rowdy got up there, he taught him a lesson, and but I think obviously Morrow was doing it in good fun. It wasn't like it was like known that Rowdy was going to be an asshole or anything like that. I think it was just all done in fun, and it happens. I mean, like you said, it's some of those life lessons and game lessons that it teaches you. I'm sure if somebody came up to Rowdy now, him being a big leaguer, and it was a young pitcher saying, "Hey, I'm gonna punch your ticket," I'm sure Rowdy would be like, "I want to see you try, come in my kitchen," and teach him a lesson kind of type deal. And it's just part of the game, stuff you learn, as you go.
Yeah, my first spring training after that, remember they came, like you guys would always come to the minor league side because there's more fields, so you would have everybody out there. So 2014, like there's a couple guys still left, and they immediately saw me with my name on my back, and they were like, "Hey, you're the one talking shit tomorrow, huh?" And I was like, "Oh man," I'm like, "This is gonna suck if I ever get into big league camp with all these guys," and which I did. And I had Adam Lind, and he just kept wearing me out about anything that came out of my mouth. And then as I got older, like it just got worse and worse, and I had to deal with like Donaldson and Tulo and Joey Bats, like all these guys just constantly wearing me out. And then the only one I could turn to was Encarnacion because we take ground balls together. And he would even look at me and be like, "What is wrong with you, dude?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. Just trying to fit in. I just want to be.
So, Rowdy, you grew up in Elk Grove, California, not too far from Sacramento. Grew up a Niner fan, obviously.
A real one.
And which is why I'm wearing the hat representing, even though you say I'm a Raider fan for, I don't know.
Well, you're from LA, so relax. Living on the beach and soaking up the good life.
But we finally have a
Shut the Rowdy. We'll put a Raider one up for you.
Fan.
There, see? This is why you guys do a podcast together. You guys are Raider fans together.
No. I'm a Raider fan for safety reasons.
So, what age did you start playing ball at, and when did you realize, like, were you a multi-sport athlete? Explain a little bit of what your upbringing was like growing up in Elk Grove.
I grew up with a younger sister. Both my parents worked, but I was pretty good at baseball from a young age, but it wasn't my first like passion. I really liked to race dirt bikes, loved to ride dirt bikes. We'd go every weekend. I was a decently smaller kid, like average height, like average size. And then, going into like second or third grade, I had a huge growth spurt. So I grew, got fat, really didn't lose all the baby fat. So it's been stuck here. But I would say for me, just kind of like the upbringing I had was so sports oriented, but I really only played baseball. Never played football, played basketball for a couple years, mainly just to kind of stay in shape. We hunted a lot, all the time, took trips, pretty much every weekend from October to end of January. So that's why I like being a baseball player now and having that free time is just I hunt and work out all off season. So, but
wait, hold on. Before you go on, as a kid, you were hunting? You were shooting the guns and everything?
Yeah, I got my hunting license when I was 7.
That's cool. I mean, I've never done it. Rick, you ever done anything like that?
No. Hell no.
Right.
Raiders fans don't hunt.
Okay, before we get onto the baseball stuff, because this is going to be fascinating to me. Rowdy, behind you have like the Bucks on your wall, right?
Yeah. Well, there's can't really do this, man. I'm not tech savvy. I don't know. Oh, there's
right there, right there.
Deer. There's a duck on the wall over there. We have my dad's office has most of them in it. But yeah, we a deer hunt every year, an elk hunt every year, maybe 2 elk hunts a year. Maybe 2 deer hunts a year. I mean,
where's the coolest place you've ever hunted at? Like the coolest, like where you've been like, wow, this place is incredible.
Probably Condon, Oregon, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's like right on the Oregon-Idaho border. It's wheat fields on top. So you drive these roads and it's just wheat fields. And you'll get to the edge of a wheat field and it'll be like a 4,000-foot drop, just straight canyon on the bottom, and it's just gorgeous. You'll stand up top. You see hundreds and thousands of elk. You cover so much ground. I mean, we hike miles and miles and miles and cover, tremendous amount of ground. But
what about your dream place to hunt at?
I want to do a hunt in Montana or Alaska, like a 2-week, kind of like, not like pioneer style, but like kind of live off of it. Like shoot what you shoot, you got to eat it at the time. Like I want to do something like that where I think that would be fun. Like me and my dad, or kind of just like a bonding trip where we can get out and just live life and get away from a lot of things,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've heard that Canada too has good hunting, right?
Yeah. I got a couple connects up there being, the backup first baseman. So we're good.
Roddy, when you think about it though, before we get on to the baseball stuff, going in a blind and hunting and just getting away, that kind of helps you as an athlete too, right? Where you're just focused on everything except the sport of baseball.
Yeah, it definitely gets you away from the game. But I think hunting's more just time to mess around. Get away from reality and just do dumb stuff. I can't tell you how many dumb things I've done in a duck blind or sitting in a tree stand. Like I was sitting in a tree stand in Texas last year, playing on my phone, waiting, it was freezing. It was like 8 degrees outside. I'm sitting there playing on my phone, and this deer comes by, and I'm like, okay, go to grab my bow. And I forgot I put my phone on my lap. And so I stand up to grab my bow, and my phone falls and hits every step on the way down of the tree stand. And deer just runs off, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, what an idiot. So then I'm like, well, I got to go down and grab my phone. I was like, I can't just leave it down there because what's going to happen? What if something happens? I got to have my phone. So I'm walking down, and I didn't put my bow on the stand, like on the bow holder on top, and that fell like 16 feet to the ground. So then I have to go down and get my phone, grab my bow, and the whole time I'm walking up, there was a buck walking right about 20 yards from me. As I was like on the ground, walking, like climbing the ladder back up to the tree stand, I'm like, this is just a great day. Phone was broken. I had to resight my bow. I do some dumb things, man. I really do.
You're that guy. You're that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, shot an elk the first day and tried to drag it like a mile back to camp, and that didn't. Those are like 700-pound animals. That wasn't the smartest idea either.
Oh, my God.
It was snowing, so then I started sweating because I'm like trying to drag this thing. Then it got freezing, and I was like, I don't think some things through sometimes.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And the two Mexicans right now are going, what are you talking about? Well, this is because, Rick, we're going to stay on the beach, Rick. I think it's safer for us.
Yeah, I'll stay out on the water better.
Yeah.
All right, so Roddy,
a good duck hunting one was I was duck hunting with my dad, and I had to go take a leak. So I had to take my waders off because, we wear these like chest high waders, and go to take them off. And I had all my bullets in the top. So I'm standing on this marsh bank, and I drop my waders. All my bullets go. So I try to catch them. I'm holding my gun in one hand, trying to catch them in the other hand. While I drop my gun off the edge into the marsh. I was like, this is just, got to go down there, try and find it. It was like 2 feet deep. So like my whole up to my shoulder is just covered in mud and water, and like half my body's soaking wet. Still haven't gone to the bathroom. Ducks are flying. Like I'm just standing out in the middle of the open. So I just sat down. I was like, I'm done.
What a shit show you are, man.
Rick, now I know why you wanted to have him on. This guy tells good stories, man.
There you go, man. This is what we're all about. We're all about good stories.
Yeah. And Roddy, so you were the big kid growing up. How big were you as say high school?
Probably like 6'3", 285, I think is what I signed at high school. I lied and said like 250, but that wasn't true.
And were you always a stud baseball player?
Yeah. I could hit. I could hit. My defense was terrible. I remember the first time I ever took ground balls in pro ball, we had Mordecai was our infield coordinator. Do you remember him, Rick?
Yep.
Morty was our infield coordinator. Takes me out to the half field, hits me 3 fungos, 3 ground balls. I'm like dropping to a knee at first base. High school kid, I just want to keep the ball in front, like drop to a knee, pick it up, jog to first, touch the base. And he like stands there, looks at me, gives me this look. See, and he has this distinct little waddle. He's like bow-legged. He has this little waddle. And he comes over to me and he always says, "Cuz." He goes, "Cuz, you ever played first base?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's all I've ever played." He goes, "Cuz, I'm glad they paid you to hit because you fucking suck." That's what he said to me. And I was like, okay. Next day, Morrow just snaps a bat. I'm over here firewood in the middle of summer of Florida. I'm like, man, can I get something? Like, can I get you're good? Can I do? First time I met Sandy Alomar was like a few days later after that. And I walk in and he goes, "Hey, you know, I had the guy that signed you, I coached him for 3 years." And I was like, "Oh, you know D Brown?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "He said you were here." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And he goes, "Man, he didn't say how fat you were though." I was like, "Listen here, Yoda. Better shut up or I'll punch you and turn to fucking dust." It's like, God, dude. I was like, everybody's on me for no reason. Pick on the fat kid. I'm already obese. I mean, this just makes it worse.
I feel like that's classic Sandy and classic Morty right there. Just very dry humor.
Morty was
trying
one of my favorite Pro Bowl
it's
stories.
nothing, obviously nothing personal, but it was just like, just making fun of the situation, which is.
Oh yeah, Morty's one of my favorite coordinators, if not that I've ever had. He used to just tell me some dumb stuff. I mean, like I'm talking, I couldn't field ground balls. Like instructs one year, they made me play 27 outs on defense. We played 9 innings and I could not come off the field. So whatever that is, 54.
How bad was your back feeling after that?
I would do it twice a week. I'd have to play the entire game at first base.
No way.
Entire game to learn how to field the ground ball, because that instructs my first 3 at bats were a home run, a double, and then a home run. Also made 2 errors that game, and then they were like, "Hey, we know you can hit. Learn how to play some defense." Made me play defense. The entire instructs didn't get to hit. They were like, "Hey, you don't even need to hit in the cage or nothing. Like, don't get here early. Just get here normal time. Solely defense." And I was like, "All right." Cool.
Hey, they don't teach defense at Elk Grove, huh?
Yeah, no, we don't teach that. We just have dudes that rake. Like we had J.D. Davis. My high school teammates are pretty unbelievable. I had J.D. Davis with the Mets. I had Dom Nunez, who's the backup catcher for the Rockies. Mind you, we were all in high school together. I had this pitcher named Dave Smith, played pro ball for like a year or 2. Then I had Derek Hill, first round pick in 2014 with the Tigers. I had Dylan Carlson, the number 1 prospect for the Cardinals, the center fielder. And then I had Nick Madrigal, the second baseman for the White Sox. They're like top prospect in baseball. We are all on a high school team together.
Jeez, wow. Stacked. Rowdy, okay, so you come from a high school team like that, that's stacked, so all you have to do is hit. You go and you sign, you're in instructs. When they're telling you, they're picking on you, as they say in Spanish, de cariño, right? They care about you. But at the same time, they're telling you, you suck, you can't field, you can't come off for defense. You're 19 years old. What's that do to you?
I mean, Rick probably knows, but I'm not the easy. Like, I'll say some shit right back to you. If they told me you sucked, I'd look at you and be like, "All right, I don't give a fuck. Get out of here." I'm like, don't talk to me. Ain't no skin off my teeth. I was really hard headed. I didn't care. Like something they would say something to me, I'd say something right back. It didn't matter who you were. Didn't no regard for any sort of people that were trying to help. If I didn't like you, I wasn't going to mess with you. If you didn't do something that I believed was beneficial, or you couldn't even make it to the same level as I was at, I wasn't going to listen to you. I was just kind of one of those guys. So it didn't bother me at all. It kind of fueled the fire.
Before I ask you this next question, but has this been a little bit of a learning curve toward, like, with you, as far as like, all right, maybe I was young, dumb, and didn't realize, what some of the people were trying to say, to where as now you would have done things differently, or do you still think that like this is what I got me here and this is what I did and I was going to stick to the plan?
A little bit of both. Like, I regret some of the ways I treated some people. They were good people, and they'll talk about, some of my teammates, former teammates, they'll be like, "Oh, I loved so-and-so great." I'm like, I hated that guy, but I was the only person that would. I was like, so to me, like, that's just me being who I am, and I'm not being the best person at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, you know, but at the same time, I think the way I acted and the way I kind of presented myself and not listening to a ton of people and really just being a hard-headed kid is where I, got me to where I am. I failed a lot in the minor leagues. I failed in the big leagues, and I think that just built who I am and made me stronger mentally to be able to handle the things that I've been through in life and dealt with. So I think I wouldn't change anything, but I would definitely like to I would say rethink things through when I would go about my day and some of the stuff that would come out of my mouth.
So Rowdy, you were drafted in the 30th round, correct?
Yeah.
And you were going to come to USC and be a Trojan.
Yeah.
How and you said it was within seconds before the deadline. What other offers did you have prior to USC? Like, what made you want to come to Southern California and not stay up there in NorCal or somewhere closer to home? Did you want to, obviously you wanted to come to the greatest place on earth, but why USC?
No, I didn't want to go to Fullerton. That place sucked. No offense to Vanderhook, who's there now. So I got my first offer from Cal unintentionally when I was in 8th grade. I went and filled in at a high school showcase, and I ended up hitting a home run off Imhoff, the kid that, remember, he was doing bands with the Phillies, and the band broke and hit him in the eye, blew his eye up. Remember hearing about that?
Yeah. I did. Yeah. I did hear.
Left on left, faced him when I was in 8th grade, and I homered off him. And I won't forget it because Cal came up to me and was like, "Hey, where's your dad at?" And I pointed to the guy that actually signed me with the Blue Jays. He was like my mentor. He coached me in Little League, coached me all the way up. And I pointed, I was like, I don't have, my dad's not here. I'm here with this guy. He's like, that guy's a pro scout. I mean, he goes up and he goes, so where's this kid's dad? And he's like, I have him for the weekend. And he goes, well, I want to give him an offer. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, and they were like, well, I want to give him an offer. And he was like, well, he's only in 8th grade, And the Cal coach, who was Hubs, who coached Morrow, and then would have been my coach at SC, was the guy that was like, well, I didn't know that. So then I wanted to go to UCLA really bad after they won the championship, and Vanderhook was the hitting coach there. So I went over there, did a visit, and they Fred or Savage wasn't there, whatever the head coach's name was. And they were like, hey, we'll give you 40%. I literally looked at him and I was like, you guys are pathetic. I was like, my dad was like, yeah, that'll never happen. So then I went over to USC and Frank Cruz was there. He was the head coach there. And I walked in, he goes, oh, good to see a couple Mexicans walking in here. I was like, all right, this is where I want to be. I looked at Stanford. I looked at Oregon State. I looked at LSU. I looked at Miami, North Carolina. I liked all those schools, but I ended up committing to USC as a sophomore. And
wow.
Just, I knew the money was going to be there. I really had no intention of going to school.
So when you get drafted, though, obviously you go in the 30th round. Are you just saying, I'm going to school? There's no way I'm signing. Where would you project?
Yeah, that was my mindset. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to school. I better get prepared. I better start actually doing my homework and not having somebody else do it, and better learn how to spell my own name. And so I'm sitting here, and when the first day went by in the draft, and they told me I was going to be, back of the first, second round pick, I'll be first day guy, and it didn't happen. I was crushed. I was sitting there, I was heated. Second day went by, we got a bunch of phone calls, and I would answer and be like, no, I'm not signing. No, you guys have to figure it out yourself. Either you guys are gonna have the money or not. I said, I'm not taking anything less than my number. And then I was actually swimming in my pool at my dad's house, and the Blue Jays called me and they're like, hey, we took you in the draft. And I was like, cool, not signing. And they're like, okay. And it was just like hey, we're just letting you know we got drafted. And my scout, who was one of my mentor, he was like, hey, you got to understand, it's got to be it's a grateful thing. You got to be grateful to get drafted. A lot of kids don't get that opportunity, even though you didn't go where you wanted to. It's a good thing to have. And then I showed up to my physical just in case. Showed up to my physical in Florida, flew me out, and I showed up with our first round pick. And this dumbass showed up with a broken arm.
Who is
at the
it?
physical.
Or who was it?
Phil Bickford
Oh shit, Phil Bickford.
showed up with a broken arm, and I was like, all right, probably going to end up signing now. They're not going to sign him. He kept turning down on the money. Well, then they called me on the last day. Like we had hardly any negotiations. Called me on the last day. Start talking. All I remember is they offered 500, and my agent was like, no. And they called back a couple hours later, and they were like, we'll give you the first pick of the third round, which is 747. My agent was like, no. I slammed my computer on the ground. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, dude, I want to go play. Like, it's good money. He was like, no, we'll get you more. And I was like, all right. Well, my number was 9. I think we asked 975 in like the second round. Because I had like a kind of like a pre-draft deal with the Mariners to save some money. I had a private workout up there. I was the only player up there. And Smokey was actually my tour guide for it. He was my tour guide when I was in high school in Seattle, when he took me around the stadium and watched me hit. Then I became his teammate in 2018, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
Justin Smoke, Beto.
Oh, Justin Smoke.
fell
Okay.
through, and I ended up signing for 850 and flew to Florida, and Morrow disgraced me entirely, and I got better from the day on.
That's pretty interesting, though. I mean, you would think, right, Beto, as a 30th rounder, you're not getting the money that you want, obviously, and you have a Division I scholarship to go to one of the most prestigious baseball schools in the country, and you're thinking, your head's like, I'm going to school, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, we're going to give you what you want. I mean, when you sign, and then you obviously think signing. Did you know what it would like? What the minor league life was going to be like? Was it like a wake up call where you're like, oh shit, this is not what I signed up for?
Yeah, like when I got there, I was like, all right, kind of cool, like get to be here. Like then we showed up to the hotel, and I was like, what kind of dump is this? I was like, you kidding me? And then I was like, this sucks. And they were like, all right, well, it's dinner time. And I was like, sweet, probably gonna have a good dinner. Went down there, and it was like gross food, and I was like, all right, well, good thing I have money. I lived at Chipotle, and I just kind of ate. I'd never ate the team dinner. I mean, it was bad. And then you get to the minor leagues, and you get the buses, and then you do short season and extended, and I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like,
where'd you go to? Did you go to rookie ball?
Yeah, I went to Bluefield. That was tough
What's
tickets
that?
out there.
Virginia,
Bluefield, West
right?
Virginia. It's back.
That's part of the reason, Rowdy, what we do is we talk about people in their journey. Like, you're in the big leagues, cool, congratulations. But it's about where you were when you signed to what you got there. And that's the struggle. That's the grind. Like, you thought you were a first round day. You were pissed off about it. And you weren't a traditional 30th rounder because you had leverage. And that's anything, as we tell parents, and like, look, go to school, use school as a leverage. Like, you didn't want to go to USC, but you were going to be there if you can go, and you did it. You use USC to get yourself more money. Then the reality hits of like, okay, I was top dog at Elk Grove with a stud team, probably one of the best in the States. Now, fuck, everybody's good. You're learning how to play first base with one knee, right? And it's so you were probably like everybody else, one of the best at everything you ever did in your entire life. How humbling is it to realize you're in front of 30 people in fucking Virginia when nobody cares about you and you got a terrible spread, and you're like, yeah, you got some money in your pocket, but everybody's in the same level. Like, how far away were the big leagues in your mind at that time?
I mean, they were far. I was looking at it like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't know that there was this many levels. I didn't know really anything. And I was just like, man, I can bang. I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. I was like, why am I in extended? Why do I have to come here? I was like, I'm better than every first baseman we have in the organization. I was like, there's no reason I should be here. And they were like, well, you're young. I'm like, really? We're going to play the age card? I was like, I mean, what does that have to do with anything? I was like, if I can make a team better, put me on that team. Like, that was my mindset the entire time. I didn't, so I was pretty arrogant. I was always the youngest player on every team I was on. I was always the youngest player. But I mean, it humbled me, especially when I went to rookie ball, and in my first 14 games, I think I was 2 for 40 something. I was like, all right, this ain't it. this is not it. And I was like, all right. So I got Johnny Slapdick over here punching my ticket, and this guy's, 6 years at college. I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, this guy sucks.
It just, I mean, Beto, and it paints the picture for like everyone who thinks like, oh yeah, you sign and then boom, the big leagues are in sight. At every level that you go through, there's talent everywhere. Everywhere. There's thousands and thousands of big leaguers. I mean, minor leaguers who are talented. They just never get to the big leagues. But
people don't understand about the Latin guys either.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those. I've told them in our group chat with our friends. I'm like, there's plenty of Latin guys that you're just like, they're 98 to 100, 101. I mean, they don't have a clue where it's going, but on any given day, they go out there and throw 7 innings, and you're just like, whoa, that guy just punched my ticket 4 times.
With power sink, arm side run, like everything, you're like, I don't see this in the States. Like, that's an unconventional way to throw. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Who was this guy? And you go up to all of them. The worst was when I first met him, I went up and I was like, what's up, bro? And they just looked at me and I'm like, all right, cool. And then they start speaking Spanish to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Then you go up to everybody and you're trying to figure out, are they, because one of my good buddies was Dickie Thon, whose dad played in the big leagues for like 15 years. And he's like whiter than I am, but his first language is Spanish. So he speaks fluent Spanish and his second language is English. So I'm like going up to him. I'm like, dude, I hate Latin music. Like, why am I on the bus at 6 a.m. with Latins blaring music? And he's like, you call them coños when you're younger. And I was like, I just kept saying it. And he was like blasting me in Spanish. And I looked at him and I'm like, bro, come on, man. And he was like, oh, yeah, I speak English too, though. And I was like, you got to forewarn me. Like, I thought we were going to be on a team together here. And we were talking shit about your people. Like, I had no idea. And you just, it's hell. And then for me, I went to play winter ball in 2016 in the Dominican, and that changed like my views on how tough it is to be a guy that doesn't speak a language. Fortunate for me, I'm able to speak enough Spanish to like order food and like need to get to the right places. But when I came back from over there, I was like, all right, any Dominican, any Latin guy that needs help, like, I got you guys. Like,
that's awesome, man. That's good. That's awesome. I like hearing something like that because, like you said, yeah. I mean, I was on both sides of the spectrum because I obviously speak perfect Spanish and perfect English. And I'd always tell them, like, Latin guy, if the Latin guys needed help, I'd always guide them through at the lower levels. It didn't matter. And I was like you, the first time I showed up to short season, it was in Auburn, New York. The Dominican guys were talking to me. And at first I was like, whoa, slow down. They're like, yeah. Coño, don't you speak Spanish? And I'm like, I do, but I don't speak it at 100 miles per hour. Like, slow down a little bit. So I had to kind of add that to the mix, like, all right, these guys speak it really fast and I have to catch on quick. And obviously I caught on quick, but at the same time, anytime that, whatever it was needed or somebody needed to relay a message to them, I was the guy that always kind of helped in that sense. And I'm glad. I mean, I didn't even know you went to winter ball out there. Who did you play for?
Yeah, that was fun. I had a lot of fun out there. Culture shock for the first, probably say 7 to 10 days. And I was like, man, I want to go back home. And then I got to see what it's really like. And I really understood why Dominican players are the way they are, because it's so laid back over there. Like, you show up, you get your stuff done. Nobody says anything to you. If you need something, you go to them. Like, it's total hands off over there.
What team?
Estrellas.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So I was in San Pedro.
Yeah, San Pedro. Hey, Rowdy, you mentioned it about the culture shock. Like, you grew up in Northern California, so you're around minorities. You know what's up. You hear some Spanish. You know what's going on. But what is it about the Dominican baseball atmosphere that made you appreciate things even more?
I just think seeing what they had, the cages we hit in, the material that they made, built the stadiums with, and just everything around. Like, my locker was 2x4s and chicken wire. I was like, okay, well, back in scraping it out in the minor leagues, way down there in Bluefield. But I had a couple good stories where I gave a kid a pair of batting gloves, a young kid outside the stadium, and I wear size XL. And I watched him for a while. The next day, he was taking the stitches out of the hands, the front of the back of the glove, and he was taking it and folding it over his hand and restitching it. So the palm of my hand was he made it into one batting glove. The back of my batting glove, he made it into another batting glove. So he made one pair out of each one of my hands. I was like,
Wow.
oh my goodness. I'm like, all right, you got to do what you got to do. And then I had remember we used to get those Muscle Milk shaker cups? You throw them away after like 2 weeks.
Yep.
They sent me like 10 or 12 when I was out there because I had to take certain supplements, and I had multiple of them, and I gave one to a kid. And mind you, like I said, I throw them away after 2 weeks because they're just nasty. They're not very good shaker cups, or they weren't back then. Sorry, Muscle Milk, if you're watching. But and I gave it to a kid, and for the 6 weeks I was out there, he washed it, cleaned it every day, like kept it pristine. And I was like, wow, they have like a true appreciation. So when I left, all I took was my game glove and my sunglasses. I left all the cleats I had out there. I left all my bats. I left everything closed just because I knew like they're going to appreciate it more than I do. And that was like another humbling experience to know, like, I get to play in the States, and I complained about playing in the minor leagues. When I came over here, like, I was like, wow, like, they have nothing. Like, some of my teammates don't play in the States. They only play winter ball in Dominican, and they'll play in like Colombia during the season, and then they do whatever they can. That was the cool part, because they do whatever they can to be the best. You see those things on Instagram with the umpires run around calling strike threes. That's real. That's real. I got my ticket punched a couple times. I got ejected a couple times because of language barrier. I got fined for that. But
What'd you do?
I asked him, I said, the pitch was like, way off the plate. And I looked around and I was like, dude, there's no way that's a strike. But I had my bat in my hand. And I was like, had my hands in the air, and I was like, there's no way that's a strike. And he got all like, thought I was going to hit him with the bat, because that was how it was bases loaded. And he thought I was going to hit him with the bat. So then he threw me out right away, and he's yelling at me in Spanish. And I'm like, okay, well, I got like 3 words out of the 80 you just got. Like, you speak so fast, you speak slang. I said, I was just trying to tell him to slow down. Then my manager came out and said that the umpire told him that he felt threatened. So then I had to go talk to the board of, League of the Dominican Baseball. And I walked in, I was like, man, I'm going to need a translator. I sat down, they all spoke English. I was like, okay, thank goodness. Like, then they told me, and I was like, I just want to know where the pitch was. And they were like, well, we got to find you because this is your second one in 3 days. I was like, okay.
And it's funny, like I said, Rowdy got to go out there. I wish I would have gotten the chance to play winter ball. I always wanted to, but it just was never the right opportunity. And when I did want to, they didn't want me. So whatever. But one thing you do see about the Latin culture is how much they enjoy life. And I think Rowdy saw it firsthand. Music is a big part of them, and having the clubhouse going there. I don't think you ever see a Dominican or a Latin kid, Venezuelan, doesn't matter, in a bad mood. They're always just full of life, like just happy to be in the ballpark, whether it's short season, whether it's low A, whether it's high double A, it don't matter. Those guys are always happy. And I think that's why, I always tried, when there was that separation, I'm like, you guys have to understand where these guys are coming from. They don't come from much, some of these kids. So just we have to learn how to be together and stuff like that, and kind of see it from both sides. And perfect example, Gene Machi, who you've had a chance to talk to, Beto, he's from Venezuela, and early on in his career, he wanted to fight everyone. When he came to the Blue Jays, he wanted to fight Travis Snyder. He wanted to fight everyone because he wanted to have loud music. And like Rowdy said, 6 a.m., these guys are blasting music on a bus. And I had to teach him, like, hey, dude, like, it's cool that you play it, but also be aware that other people might be sleeping. And he understood. And like I said, that's why I was glad that I was able to speak really good Spanish to help these kids out and say, like, you have to have a certain level of respect too. You just can't come in here and do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's hilarious because you do, like, you'll room with them or you'll go to their hotel room or something, and they live like kings. Any hotel, like, no matter what level we're at, they thought it was the greatest thing. I went to a couple of my teammates' houses, and they were dirt floors, like tarps across the roof, using like 2-liter Coke bottles for weeks, months at a time. Like, you get the styrofoam thing that like Chinese food, or you get like a to-go box, like the styrofoam white ones, like they would make those last for like a week. You utilize everything out there. And that's where I was like super appreciative that, it gives you a different outlook on, even though like we're grinding, it could always be worse. Like it could be way tougher than it really is on the surface.
Did that kind of make it click for you, Rowdy, in your career as you got closer to the major leagues?
When I went over there, I was after my AA season, 2016. So I knew like after that season and that the fact that they wanted me to go over there, I felt pretty confident that I was gonna, break into the big leagues soon. But being over there and being able to handle it, I knew that I could handle, a lot of failure and a lot of like uncomfortability because you have no idea what's going on over there. I remember going through customs and they were like trying to check my bags, like they were taking stuff to the back room, and I was like, no, give me that back. I said, you guys aren't trying to steal from me. And then the people, just random people, be like, hey, take a car ride with me, and you're like, no. You're like it's weird because you're just looking for this one person that they told you about, and like, I mean, for me, Dominican's safe. I mean, I don't know a lot about what goes on, but you hear these horror stories of tourists in like Mexico or Venezuela or just foreign countries when they go over there and you don't speak the language and people like take advantage of them, drive in places, steal all their stuff, leave them out there. So I was like nervous, and then I got to talk to some of my teammates that I had actually played with that are from the Dominican that were on my team. They're like, dude, you have nothing to worry about here. Like, if they see a white guy, he was like, if they see a gringo, he's like, all they want is money. That's all they see you as. So like I would go to the grocery store and a little kid would push my cart. I'd give him $2 American. He would freak out. Remember my driver at the end of my time, I gave him, he used to get $200 American money every 5 days to eat. And then I'd just take it to the bank, turn it into Dominican. So it'd be easier. $200 American every 5 days. I would spend like $70 and I'd eat steak. I'd eat good seafood. I would eat like real food and I'd spend $70 in 5 days. So I was like pocketing a bunch of money just on that. So my driver, I was like, you know what? Like, I think I had the $200 cash left, like in American. And then I had like $150 worth of like Dominican money and coins, like American $150, but in Dominican money. And I gave it to him and he started crying. And he told me, couldn't really form words. And he told me, he was like, hey man, like I told him to go into Google Translate on my phone so I can understand him. And he said, this was going to feed my family for the whole year. And I was like, wow. I gave him like $350 total. I was like, that's it? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, bro, in the States, like $350 doesn't even get me like a tip for my chef for the month. I was like, what? Seriously? It was pretty, like, that's where I was like, man, $350 to us. I mean, even when you played Ricky and just in general, for a lot of people that are in the state that we're in, $350 is nothing. Like I've watched guys like, big dogs like Tulo and Donaldson, Russ Martin get haircuts and give the barber $250. I'm like, this guy drove me around for 6 weeks straight, drove me into the Capitol, drove me on like scenic things where I wanted to go somewhere, like took care of me, and I gave him $350 and he cried. I was like, man.
That's cool. This is the stories that we like to hear and stuff like this. Obviously, as a player, it helped you grow up and kind of understand like, hey, I have it easy here, and there's no time for bitching and whining. Yes, the minor leagues might suck, but somebody else has it worse, and you experienced it obviously going there. But I've also heard playing in the Dominican, the pressure of winning is big time there too, right? I mean, the fans are all into it.
It's like bigger than playing in the States. Like if you lose, like I never felt threatened when we lost ever. But I remember when we would win, we'd have like some win streaks, and then we would lose a couple against like teams that we should have beat. Our fans were like ruthless. And it was always the American guy's fault. So they were just in your face, yelling at you. They never would touch you, nothing like that. Like they always kept their boundaries. But I mean, it was insane. Like we used to have dancers. You have dancers.
Did you ever hit a big home run because I've heard like if you're a hero of a game, you are like the guy there.
Yeah, I actually never hit one in my home stadium, but I hit two in the top of the ninth at different places. I hit one in the Capitol against Escogido. Top of the ninth, we were down by one. It was first and third, and I homered off of Rafael Soriano. Remember the old closer for the Nationals and stuff?
Yeah.
I homered off of him. And, I mean, the stadium went crazy because that's the closest to us. That's our that's our rival. And then, oh, no, I lied. I did hit one at home, but it meant nothing. But and then I hit another one top of the ninth and in Santiago. and that was a bomb. It might be one of the best homers I ever hit. I mean, they brought in the lefty, first pitch, homered. And my buddy was on the other team, said they released him the next day. Like, after the game, released him. Threw one pitch. Threw a pitch to me, brought him in the bullpen, threw a pitch, gave up the homer, took him out of the game, released him. I was like, oh, man. But the celebrations, the dugout life, like you hit a home run or single. You hit an RBI single. I mean, the entire dugout is at home plate. It's like that college experience, you know? Like, everybody is there. That was like the vibe, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then the better you play, the better your dancers are on top of your dugout. Like, you have cheerleaders, and it's like, you know, that Latin stuff that goes on. I mean, it was the real deal. Like, so the better you played, the better your people were. So when we went and played Lycée, who's like a big time team out there, our dancers were unbelievable. And they were good. So
It's definitely. Let's fast forward here. Great stories about the Dominican, and you get to the big leagues. Where's your major league debut at?
Toronto. I debuted in Toronto. So.
Wait, Rowdy, really quick before you get into this, I have one question. You had your grandpa played in the Mexican League, right, Rowdy?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, my entire family actually did. My dad's uncle's dad, my grandma's brothers. You know, I got cousins. They actually wrote a book about us in the Sugar Beet League. So my grandparents immigrated from Mexico in the United States, went to Colorado, went to New Mexico first, then to Colorado, and were sugar beet farmers through the Depression and all that. They were, you know, they played in this league. It was a farming league. Like, it was the first semi-professional organized baseball in Colorado. And my family was like the leaders of it. And they ended up writing a book about us, and it was pretty cool. So when I played in Denver last year, we played the Rockies. I went to Greeley, Colorado, which is only 45 minutes outside, and I saw like where the sugar beet farm was. So I literally saw where my grandma and grandpa worked. Like, I saw the field. It's still there. It's kind of like the Field of Dreams kind of thing. It's set up. Like, I saw they have a little like memorial Hall of Fame kind of thing for like the Greeley Grays, and there's pictures of my family, like my grandma, like 12, 13 years old, like my grandpa, 16, playing on this team, like all my great uncles, my dad's uncles and stuff. It was pretty cool. And, you know, and then I had like 200 family members out there that I'd never met before, hardly spoke English, you know, like, so I'm out there and they're like yelling at me. They thought Nevin Ashley, our bullpen catcher, and John Snyder, one of our coaches, were me. So they're yelling at them. And it was pretty cool to see that and like see actually that side of my family and understand, like, you know, I thought I was the only baseball player.
What's the name of the book? Do you know it?
Shit. Somewhere in this house. No.
All right. Well, we'll send us a picture later. We'll send a tweet out for somebody can see it. Check it out.
Let me go find it.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's really, really cool. So it's in your blood. So Rick, you knew that about him?
Well, I had read something about it. Actually, Ace came through right now. He's like, ask him about his grandpa playing in the Mexican League. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I had read about it, but we were kind of going along with the conversation. That's why I didn't mean to talk you there about the debut, but I thought, you know, we'd like to hear a little bit of what team did he play for in the Mexican League? Do you remember? Do you know?
The Greeley Grays.
Yeah, so that was the team.
My entire family was the infield, the catcher, center field, left. The only one that I wasn't related to in the starting nine of like their best team was the pitcher.
And where in Mexico? Where in Mexico are you guys from? Your family?
Dude, I have no idea.
Yeah, so it was the family came over, and while they're working the fields, made up a baseball team.
I want to say that. I know a lot of my family lives in Mazatlan on the West Coast, like a lot of West Coast, but that's not where we're originally from. I just know that all of them kind of moved out. I know that they grew up in like pretty cartel heavy towns. And this is my thought, like as they started getting more money and wanted to get safer, they just started moving more and more towards the coast and getting into that. But like we have, I shouldn't say we, but like my family owns a lot of like hotels and stuff out there. A lot of, we're all the way people.
You know what's going to happen, Rick, right? You know what's going to happen. So the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast is very popular, of course. And what's going to happen is somebody is going to hear this and say, wait, Greeley family from Mazatlan? Oh, you're going to come play for the Venados. You have now just been claimed by the Venados of Mazatlan. You are their property because that's how it works in Mexico, right?
Place to play because I heard it's beautiful there.
I've had so many Mexican teams contact me saying they want to buy my rights. Like, And I'm like, dude, I won't play in Mexico. I mean, I don't have the desire. Maybe when I'm done playing in the States. That one winter ball when I played in the Dominican and I got back to my season, I was so burnt out because I literally played from January, being in mini camps and all that, all the way through Thanksgiving, like nonstop of staying in shape, trying and playing. And it just took a huge toll on my body. And I was like, okay, I can't do this again. And I was only 21 then, 20 when I did that.
And it messes up your hunting season.
Yeah, that was the big one.
I'll tell you, they're gonna go and take. I'll tell you, the Mexican teams are gonna own your rights. And don't worry, our good friend the Ace of SoCal, who's in charge of research for the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast, he'll sell you your rights only 80%. That's what we charge here from the podcast. We got you.
So no, back to Beto's question. The call up. Talk to us a little bit about how that went about. Obviously,
so
ups and downs.
I was playing okay throughout the season. My mom was sick; she had brain cancer, so I was traveling back and forth. She ended up dying August 18th, and so I left the team. I left the AAA team, and I called Ross and Mark, our GM and president, and I told him, I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing. I said, don't call me, don't contact me. I said, my season's over. I was like, do not contact me. And then Devin Travis and Smokey were the guys that kind of just texted me and made sure I was okay. But Devin was probably the big one that was constantly like, hey, I care about you. I love you, man. Let me know if you ever want to talk. And just every day kind of checked, never asked about baseball. And then probably 5 or 6 days, maybe a week after my mom had passed, Devin FaceTimed me and he was like, not FaceTime. He called me and he said, hey, have you thought about coming back? And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I haven't even picked up a baseball bat. Like, I've been a week away from the game and I'm done. And he was like, dude, I honestly think you should come back. And I was like, no. He kind of just kept being adamant about it, but not like pushing me, just making sure I'm okay. And he was saying like, it might help you. And then I had a long talk with my dad and he was like, I think you should go back. Like, just finish out the minor league season. Get your mind away from it for a week or so. And then we can get back to reality. And I was like, all right, you know what? That'll be good. Like, I'm doing no good being at home. Like, get closer and closer to like rock bottom and breaking points. And like, it was going to be a bad thing. So I went back and I credited Devin a lot for this, of just getting me back out there and getting my mind away, and got back to the team. I played like 7 games. I didn't play too well. I mean, I felt good, but I was the last one in the clubhouse, first one to leave type of deal. Like, I just didn't want to be there. I just knew that being away from reality was going to help me. Fast forward. So then season ends. I throw all my shit away. Throw it all away. All I took onto the bus. First one on the bus, like showered, didn't say goodbye to nobody. Got on the bus. All I had was my glove. Everything was thrown in the garbage. And then they were like, hey, we're having like team meeting, call-ups. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't care who gets called up. So I'm sitting there and everybody gets called up. And then Devon White comes out and goes, hey, I need to talk to you in the office. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting called up. I was like, there's just no way. And so I went in the office and Ben Sherrington, Bobby Meacham, and Devon were in there and sat me down, and Meach just started smiling. And I was like, okay. And he goes, hey, you're going to go to the big leagues. And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, you fucking kidding me? And he was like, no. He goes, you deserve it. And I was like, all right. And Ben Sherrington was like, hey, you're just going to go up for the month, learn as much as you can, try and play, here and there. I was like, all right, sick. Got all my shit out of the garbage, grabbed all my bats again. I was like, well, I'm going to need some stuff now. I mean, piles, like everybody's shit. Food was on top of my stuff. And I was like, I just need 1 pair of cleats. Let me just grab a pair of cleats out of there. And so then I drive up, because we finished in Syracuse, drove up there, get there that night. Next morning I walk in and Gibby's in there, and I walk into Gibby's office and I'm like, hey, just want to let you know I'm here. And he goes, what did they tell you? I was like, they told me I'm just going to learn, hang out with Smoke, learn as much as I can and play here and there. And he goes, nah, fuck it. You're going to play every day. And I was like, all right. Sick. So I'm sitting there on the bench and he goes, DeMarlo Hale comes down. He goes, hey, young buck, you ready? And I was like, for what? And he goes, you're going to pinch hit. And I was like, oh, shit. Go get loose. Went and got loose, got up there. I honestly don't remember walking up the steps out of the dugout. I don't remember getting on deck. I don't remember getting into the box. I don't, one of my best friends was catching Nick Schufo for the Rays. And, I don't remember any of that. I just remember the pitch coming in, and I remember standing on second base after the double. And I was just standing there. I was like, what in the fuck just happened? I was like, saw one pitch, one swing. I was like, oh my God. My dad couldn't even make it. His flight got canceled. So he's stuck in Utah. So he misses my first career hit. And so, I'm standing on second base. Next step, I forgot who was up after me. Somebody popped out the left. There was 2 outs. Someone popped out the left, and I'm tagging up at third. Or at second, tagging up. So I'm like, Louis yelling at me to run, and I'm just smiling the entire time. And then I go back inside and put on tennis shoes, take off my jersey, and take everything off. And KP Pilar goes in for me, and Smokey's looking at me and goes, hey, man, getting real comfortable day one in there, huh? Taking your cleats off, taking your jersey off. And he was like, look at you, buddy. He was like, you've made it already. Because 10 years in, one day in, you got 10 years. And I was like, oh, hell.
Oh, they were all over you then. Another lesson to be learned, obviously.
I mean, and they put me in the corner locker, and they just, I got worn out all the time. But, I was so excited. I didn't care. They were like, you need to go sing. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm up there. I'll get up there.
And obviously, I think a lot of Canada has seen that scene, obviously, after the game and how emotional it was or the next day, right? With you and your dad. He finally got
after the game, they gave me my interview, and I couldn't even speak. I tried to answer the questions that Hazel was giving me, and I couldn't, and I had to cut it short. I was just giving 4 or 5 word answers. It was tough. It was something for me, to be able, the roof was open, so I felt like my mom was watching over me. It was just one of those things for me, it was surreal. Going from I didn't want to play to being in the big leagues and having the success I did and setting the records I did. And, those things were unbelievable. And then having my dad in the stands for every record I set, he followed me the whole month of September. He traveled with me everywhere. It was real emotional, but a real fun time in my life. So, my debut was something special to me.
That's awesome, man. And that's I feel like this is one of the reasons, obviously, why I wanted to have you on, just everything that, that you've been through, and obviously losing your mom, getting to the big leagues, a few weeks later coming, you didn't want anything to do with the game at the time. And then boom, this happens. And what a journey it's been, like we said, it's a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of, I'm sure you doubted yourself a lot of times where it was like, shit, I don't know if I'll ever be able to play in the big leagues. And
2016, I was in Double-A, hit 299, 25 homers, 90 RBIs, 31 doubles. I had a good season. So I'm going into Triple-A, or going into 2017, I got a shot to make the big league team. I got a chance coming out of Double-A. My last 4 at-bats of spring training my last 4 at-bats, end of spring training to the beginning of the season, I homered the last game of spring training. Then we went to Montreal, homered there. And then my first 2 games in AAA, or first 2 at-bats in AAA in 2017, I hit 2 homers. So I was like, this is going to be cake. I'm going to be in the big leagues. And then I ended up hitting 220 with 6 homers on the year. After 407 at-bats, I had 6 home runs after hitting 25 the year before. And I was like, oh, God, AAA's tough. I was like,
baseball's a humbling sport, man.
Yeah, I was like, man, well, that's a nice slice of humble pie right there. You can just eat that and shut up. So then I went back to
Rick, you hear me now?
BD?
Huh?
Yeah, okay. I was saying, sorry about a little issues right there. So if you're watching on YouTube, of course, issues, but we're still good on the audio wise. Pretty cool story, all that experience. But as you touched on it, you were going through probably the worst moments of your life because of your mom. What happened?
She had, you mean what happened to my mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had brain cancer. So 2017, she was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, skin cancer. And by 2016, she was diagnosed. December of 16. By July of 17, they said she was cancer-free, and then started getting some headaches, some minor things, and they found out she had some brain tumors. And then, I just kind of went from there. We had brain hemorrhages. There were a lot of surgeries, a lot of things. It just kind of kept piling on us. And then she ended up passing. I decided not to be home when she did. I didn't want to remember my mom that way. That was not the thing I wanted. So I was in we were playing in Gwinnett, AAA against the Braves. And my dad called me. It was like 12:30 at night my time. So it was like 9:30 here in California. And I had the bed next to the wall. And so I had all the sheets, and I'd rolled myself in the sheets, and I'd rolled myself off the bed, and I had cried on the side of the bed against the wall, and I ended up falling asleep there. Like, I went to the bathroom and cried, walked outside, talked to Anthony Alford, who's probably one of my best friends. He's still with the Blue Jays. And we talked for hours outside and just sat out there. And, you know, he just helped me a lot. And I went back and I fell asleep in the corner of the, you know, I didn't even want to lay in my bed. I went and fell asleep in the corner. And I tried to play the next day. I was in the starting lineup, went for the national anthem, and I just looked at Meach and I was like, I can't, dude. I thought it would help me like ease some pain in my mind. And I was like, I can't. Like, dude, I got a feeling I'm going to throw up at first base. Like, got on a flight, came home. So it was a tough time, obviously, but you know, it made me better, made me stronger, learned how to be a better just human overall, teammate, person. You know, I used to think, whoa, it's me, like everything's about me. And now it's like, you need to take care of other people, because like I said before, you never know. It could always be worse. Somebody could be in a worse situation than I am. And I was, you know, pretty upset with life, but I was out there living my dream, you know, and you know, I use that kind of as something to calm me or really ease me when things are going bad. Is like I do wear a lot of my emotions on my sleeve. When I'm angry, I'm angry. You can see it. When I'm happy, sad, like you can see it. Like, I'm not afraid. People, remember when you're younger, people are like, oh, you know, don't show your emotions, you know, keep it under wraps. Like, for me, that was stupid. Like, if I'm angry, I'm going to be angry. If I'm sad, I'm going to be sad. If I'm happy, I'm going to be happy. Like, that was my mindset of like doing that. And now I look back and like I could go 0 for 4 and be mad during the game. But after, like, I used to hold on to it all the way to the next start of the next game. But now it's like, as soon as that game ends, it's over. Like, I'm done. Like, I moved on. You know, there's some days where you have those bad days, like really bad ones, and you're like, don't talk to me. Just like, kind of like give me some space. But now it's like, hey, it could always be so much worse. Like, I look at what my mom went through, and it's like, I get upset going 0 for 4 when she fought like every second to see the next. Like, that's selfish of me to have the mindset I do. So that kind of changed me too.
Wow. That's
Me. Yeah, I'm like I said, man. I mean, I think we've kind of gotten closer as obviously me going up there as an alumni, and you know, when I remember I called up and I saw that I was like, man, you know, I really like this guy, and obviously rooting for him. I've seen and heard how hard he worked to get to that point, because getting to the big leagues, you know, from when Morty's telling you like, you fucking suck, you know, in a kidding way, and obviously your development up through the Blue Jays system has been pretty cool, and you know, we'll be rooting for you, and hopefully there's baseball this season. But you know, usually the way we wrap this thing up is, and we might know the answer to this because this is what you've talked about, but what kind of advice would you give 18-year-old Rowdy, knowing what you know now, being in the big leagues? What kind of advice would you give Rowdy?
I mean, I always had this as a kid. They always told me this: you got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, so shut the fuck up, pay attention, and listen. That's always a good one to live by. So, I mean, I just think the way I acted when I was younger, and the way I handled things, the way I treated people was probably pretty horseshit and probably burned some bridges. But like I said, I wouldn't change who I was and like how I presented myself and how I carried myself. You know, I always knew that I was going to be a big leaguer from day one. So I think something for me was, it's okay to be confident, don't be arrogant. You know, and I was arrogant, not confident. You know, I had that false sense where I needed everybody to know what I could do, and I would express it and let people know that I'm the big dog, instead of I could have just done it on the field, which I did, and people would have known like, okay, he can do it. Like, then we'll give him some time. You know, then we'll like bear with him some more. Like, when I first got there and I started running my mouth, and Morrow did what he did, and I still kept running my mouth, like still hadn't proved anything. Mind you, like Morrow did that to me, and then for like 2 weeks, I still hadn't played in a professional game. Like, I was just kept facing live batting practices, kept facing people, because my contract was so weird, being when I signed at the deadline for that money, and I had to get it cleared by the MLB, and like they had the tax issue and because the new draft style, and that's the other thing, man. There's gonna be no more Rowdy Tellez's, no more 30th round picks.
Yeah, that's
I got
crazy.
5 rounds now. Poor kids.
Well, Rowdy, appreciate you giving us that great promo. I write down notes. I'm like, okay, where am I going to cut out and make a good promo? I have so many cool nuggets from you. I got to figure out exactly what I'm going through. But Ricky was raving about you, kept telling me about you. I think a year ago when you went to like Toronto, Rick, I think one of the alumni things, you're like, hey, this kid right here, and really easy to root for, especially after this. And when you hit that big bomb at Fenway where it said it was like 503 feet farther than Ted Williams, I was like, yeah, it felt like we knew you, man. So, Rowdy, appreciate you coming on with us. Enjoy. Look at that stud right there. Flexing right there.
I love when we wear blue jerseys. It looks so much more thinning on me. It's nice. Dude, when we wore all white for Players Weekend in Seattle, I put on that uniform and I put on my helmet and I literally went and looked in the mirror and I was like, I look like I should be fucking selling tires for Michelin. I look like a fucking marshmallow. I was like, this is stupid. I was like, dude. I was like, Ghostbusters. I mean, God. We couldn't pick a normal color.
Well, without a doubt,
we appreciate the time,
Rowdy,
taking the time to come out here and be a guest on this podcast. You know, we can't thank you enough, and it was awesome, dude. Like I said, it was cool to kind of just share your story and so, like I said, some of the stuff I didn't even know about you, and I'm glad we did it. And it's always entertaining for guys like me and Beto to listen to you guys' journeys.
Yeah, this was fun, guys. This is awesome. It's probably the best one I've ever been on. I'm tired of doing those Zoom calls, and I don't even know how half
That's
of
what
it
we like
worked.
to hear.
Yeah,
I got my sister setting up Zoom for me on my computer, and I mean that's why I logged on so early. I was like, I just need to make sure everything works. And he was like, you can call us back. You can get back on. I was like, nope, I got it right the first time. I'm just gonna leave it here. I'll walk around my house, go do something.
we appreciate it, Rowdy. Rowdy Tellez, make sure you follow him. The family from Mexico will tweet out a picture of the story. This will be available to everybody out there. We told you this wasn't going to be a traditional interview. We don't care about baseball. It's about you and your journey. Keep on doing it. And we'll send a copy of this to Brandon tomorrow. I'm pretty sure he'll love to hear from you.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, for everybody involved, John McKelvey and everybody at Pro Angle, make sure you guys go to 101 Cider, Ricky's cider company that he's helping out. Use the code Romero, get some discounts on cider. We got to send some to Rowdy because this stuff is good,
yeah,
man. We were drinking this.
I want the shirt that you have on.
Oh, you want a West Coast shirt?
Those are sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
West Side. By the way, West Side Clothing. We go and check them out. They got some sweet hats. West Side is where you want to go check it out. It's all on the links. Check it out. Appreciate them. We'll take care of you. So for everybody involved with the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast, we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Let's go.